My name is Councilwoman Quantavia Hilbert. I represent the West Ward in the great city of Orange, New Jersey. We are here today for our first ever community brunch, which we will start doing every quarter of the year. And in our community brunches, we're going to do a different style of meeting. So as you see, there's no city employees here. Not that we don't love them. We appreciate everything they do, right? But this meeting is about the people. This meeting is about the residents, it's about the businesses, it's about the parents and the families, and it's also about the people who are in our community and they give us service. Okay? So I'm going to tell you what this meeting is not about. This meeting is not about tax abatements. Okay, guys? Do not do that to me. Not today. It's still too early. Okay? This meeting is not about an election. Okay? This meeting is not about who owns a new development. This meeting is about the residents engaging in local politics. And we're going to have a presenter that's going to tell you what that sounds and looks like. This meeting is about us coming together because we all know because of pandemic, that's been very difficult. So it's great to see all these faces here. I know a lot of you haven't seen each other in a while. Miss Shelley. It took me a lot of work to get this young lady out. She didn't want to leave her house. I offered to bring her myself. Okay? This meeting is also about us networking and introducing new people into our community because we have new residents, we have new businesses. All right? And so those people are going to talk later as well. So just to keep this thing moving, because we're also going to have a couple of our local organizations speak as well. I want to start introducing you to our first speaker. She's been very patient. Thank you so much. Her name is Michelle D. Curry, and she is going to talk to us about the Citizens Trust. Some of you may have heard it. It's not new. It's been around for about 25 years. 25 years. And what I like and what I've learned about the Citizens Trust is that it comes straight to the people and it amplifies your voice. Not only does it educate you on what your rights are, but it also helps mobilize and organize you to get it on paper in order to enforce the change you want to see in your communities. And that's what this is all about. There's too many times that you hear, oh, well, I went to this council meeting. I went to this council meeting and I said all of this during citizens' comment, but no one gave me a reply, or there was no action, or there was no follow-up, right? So a lot of people have that experience. And today I want to move past that. I want to give everyone a sense of hope and a sense of purpose again, and a community that we can actually start having this conversation again. Okay? So Ms. Curry is going to come up and she's going to explain it to you. One second. Because I had it here. Okay, yes. All right. So Miss Michelle Curry, she has a master's in public administration. She is also the chief facilitator of Civic Trust and Civic Cities. And today she's going to talk to us about the Citizens Campaign and how she has managed and it facilitated this program being available not only in communities like ours, but also on the academic level in colleges. So they are not only helping residents, but they're also helping our future generation. Mm-hmm. So please give her your undivided attention and please hold your questions towards the end. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Councilwoman, and please call me Michelle. Good morning. I know everybody's waiting for breakfast, so we're going to keep this kind of as short as possible, and I'm just excuse my back. I'm going to try so that no one is looking at my back. So I have been a civic trustee in Newark for about 8 years at this point, which is why the organization that oversees the trust said, you need to come work for us because you've done this so long that you can help other people do it also. So what is civics and what is citizen leadership, right? It's us. This is what it looks like. Us taking care of us, right? We each have a voice, we each have a value, and we each have something to add to the table, right? Even though most of the time we feel like what? We don't, right? Because without participation, there is no representation, right? If you don't discuss and communicate and demand on some levels that your needs be addressed in the community, what happens? Nothing. Exactly. Nothing. So how do we do that? What does it look like? Well, the Citizens Campaign has been around for about 25 years. We've worked throughout the state, educating those not just on civics, but how to use your voice so that change actually occurs. Because how many of y'all want to fight and nothing happens? Nobody. Ain't nobody got that kind of time, right? Or the frustration level of it, right? That you fight for something that you know is right and everybody else looks at you like you're crazy. Nobody else wants to jump on board because it's like they don't get it. But it's really like, what? You don't matter, right? So how do we turn that around? Well, the Citizens Campaign created what we call civic trust. Civic trust are people like us, right? We come together, we meet once a month, and trust me, there's a full meal because you can't save the world on an empty stomach, okay? So there's a full meal, and then we get to business. Let's talk about what's going on in our communities because government happens on a local level, right? Biden's up in the White House, but what he does tomorrow, how long is that going to take to impact you? He'll be out of office, right? He'll be out of office, okay? So government happens from the bottom up, not the top down. And I teach at a college in New York, and the students always look at me like I'm crazy when I say that. But the president is the most important person. Okay, but not in my community, he's not. The most important people in my community are my mayor, right? My city council, right? My assembly people, okay? My senators. Those are the people who make laws that address how I live every day. Not the people sitting in Washington, D.C. Those take a while to trickle down. So we look at the local level. What can we change on the local level that makes our communities better than we found it? Without the magic issue of blame. Because once I start blaming someone, what happens? Nothing. Because now everybody else is defending that they ain't did nothing, right? So you never get the issue resolved. So let's remove blame out of the equation, right? Because now everybody at the table only has one goal, and that's to fix whatever's broken. We know this country broke. Do we really need to discuss who broke it? Because we know it was nobody in this room. So to have that discussion is a waste of time, anger, frustration, and you get nowhere, right? So the civic trust, like I said, meet monthly. The one closest to here would be Newark, unless you all decide to have one here in Orange, right? So we have a National Citizen Leadership Base at Rutgers University, Newark, just like we do at colleges and universities across the country. We have one at FAMU. We're working on Howard. We have one at Morgan, Hampton, University of Pennsylvania, Georgetown. So even all the way through California, Colorado, Texas, Florida, they're all over the place. And what we do is we work with the community so that you can take issues that are making your life hell and flip them so that they work best for every single person in the community. We're nonpartisan. We don't cater to special groups. There's nothing wrong with special groups, but our solutions have to work for everybody. Because if they don't work for everybody, Well, then how's that working if we all live in the same community, right? So what does that look like? Well, we do have a website, which I will give you guys. You can go on. We have a zillion videos. We have all different kinds of things. But the most important thing is that we have a free online self-paced power civics course that teaches you the power centers in your community and how to walk through what we call the 10-step no blame problem solving method so that you can create the social change in your communities that we all need. So for instance, Trenton, our beautiful capital. I worked there in senior buildings. I'm a social worker in my other life. And when Sandy happened, there was no one to evacuate the senior buildings because they live independently. There's no plan. There's also no electricity. So how are they using their oxygen concentrators, right? How are they getting to dialysis? How are they keeping food cold in their refrigerator so that they can take their medications? Heck, how are they getting their medications? They're not, right? So I worked with the city because I'm like, what are you guys going to do? We're lucky here. We have some power, so everybody, we could at least plug a refrigerator in. There are buildings here with no power whatsoever, which is why they found some seniors deceased in their apartment. So usually it's the police auxiliary that does that. Well, Trenton didn't really have one. Well, where does that leave us? Stuck. So the Civic Trust in Trenton said never again. They came together. They created a plan. They reorged the auxiliary police, and Trenton now has 13 police officers that are auxiliary because we did it. We did it. So God forbid if there's ever another Sandy, God forbid, we don't have to go through that again and lose people that should have never been lost because we didn't have the services to help them, okay? In Newark, how many of you guys are familiar with the school of prison pipeline? Okay. You want to know one of the main facilitators of the school to prison pipeline? Is the lack of civic education. How do I know I'm breaking the law if I don't know what the law is? How do I know where my boundaries are? How do I know how to protect myself in the system that no one taught me about? I can't, okay? So the city of Newark, the trustees of Newark said, well, we want to do something. How do we derail the school of prison pipeline? We did our research. We said, well, let's put civics back in the schools. Okay, seems like a huge thing, right? Because now you got to go to the Board of Ed, you got to go to the superintendent, you got to find the high schools. Well, guess what? The students did it. High school students from Westside High went to a Board of Ed meeting and said, listen, we took this online course and everybody should. Now, in the city of Newark, when you're in high school, everybody gets the online course for free. You have a question or you? Yes. So, and our students did that because they came to a civic trust meeting. Okay, they came because we had food. No lie, transparency. Okay, they came because we had food. And he came in and said, there's some other people here with food, but y'all got a whole dinner in here. And I was like, yeah, come in and have some chicken, come in and have some ribs, some yellow rice, come in, but you got to stay for the whole meeting. And you got to ask questions, okay? They were halfway through the chicken and went, hold on a second, is this having anything to do with Martin Luther King? And I went, well, sort of, kind of, because Martin Luther King led a mission of no violence in order to get the Civil Rights Bill passed, right? He had a goal and he had a plan and he created social change like we've not seen. So they said, okay, this is pretty good. So what can we do? Well, what's broke? So the students, by this time, we got 3 or 4 students in there. They said, well, the education system ain't the best. I said, so what would you do? Well, we need to change it. So they came together, they thought about it, and they went to a board meeting. Because through our meetings, they learned the Board of Ed is one of the power centers, right? You need to change something with education, you go to the Board of Ed, right? You don't like or need to understand the developments that are coming into your city or the lack thereof. That's the planning board, right? That's going to a planning board meeting. It's another power center. Can anybody else think of what another power center in a city might be? She was just standing here. The city council, absolutely, the city council. Because the city council does what? They pass the laws and ordinances, right? That's where the legislature in a city comes from. In this type of structure, because what I've now learned is there are a whole different bunch of structures of city government. But in this structure, that's who does that, right? And those city council people represent who? Us. So shouldn't they understand what our needs are? Which is exactly what she's doing, right? Trying to figure out what she can do in her power to make this community better. But she can't do it without everybody else, right? Everybody has to show up and be present. That's the only way that this actually works. Okay, so what is this no blame problem solving, right? I'm sorry, I'm a pacer. What does this look like? Well, the first thing is what's the problem? Let's take a look at the problem. So can somebody think of something that they would want to change in their community to make it better?
Quality of life.
Okay, and what would make the quality of life better for you?
What would make quality of life better?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And speaks on the fact that the demographics of this city are changing at a pace that we're not prepared for. Right. We
Wow.
can't have
Okay.
these conversations
Mm-hmm.
without that.
Okay, so the issue would be more of a transparency issue, but it would also be understanding who the constituents are in the community, right? And how to adjust for the population, growth here, right? So that means that your education system is going to be taxed, right? Because now you got kids in school that you didn't have before, right? Your economy is definitely going to be taxed. I'm not even going to go into housing because, yeah, okay, so that is going to be taxed, right? So now you got, okay, and there's so many other things we can go with. Environmental services, how are we with vacant properties? And I mean, there's just so many places you can go in communities that border urban areas, that are the suburbs of urban areas, because you always have the influx out. When people leave the inner city, they come out, right? So places like East Orange and Orange are right in line with what? Newark and Irvington, right? So people can afford to get out. Where they coming? Absolutely. Not mad at them because they're getting out. Not mad. But these cities, like you say, have to be prepared for that flux, right? Now, I'm getting ready to date myself, but okay. Remember when they started working in Newark and they pushed those borders into Irvington? Okay, and Irvington kind of lost their mind for a minute, and you had Irvington cops coming over the border into Newark shooting people that might come in Irvington. Okay, they weren't ready. They weren't ready. They did not know what to do. There was no plan, right? So as citizens, right, if there was a trust here, we would create a committee, 6 people or more. Let's sit down. Let's take a look at that, right? So the first thing is to find the issue, right? And you want something doable because you don't want to set yourself up to fail because that means you're never going to do it again, right? So we found something that's doable. What's the laws around that? Did anybody write laws, write ordinances? Has anybody on a legislative level addressed that? So let's pull an Oprah request. Does everybody know what an Oprah request is? Okay, so let's take a look. Legally, what the boundaries are, right? Because see, then you have to know how far in you have to go, right, to get the change. Okay, we've done that. Step 3. This ain't the only place this has happened. Is there anywhere else in this country that has solved this issue? Evidence-based model. I don't believe in reinventing the wheel. Somebody already rolling it. We can roll it right here. And then we could tweak it and make it roll the way we want to, instead of starting all over from scratch, right? Okay, so now we got an issue. We know the laws around that issue. We find an evidence-based model somewhere in the country that's working on the same issue, right? What's the big thing when you go to present this to your city council, your assembly person? What they're going to tell you? We ain't got no money, right? So you want to make sure that this is cost neutral or at least cost effective, right? Because if we look at our city budgets, can we always find money? Yeah. Yeah, you can. You can find money. It's a lot of something else, but you can find money, right? So you want to make sure that whatever you're presenting is not going to get blocked because of the dollar, right? Because that's the first thing they're going to tell you is they ain't got no money, okay? So now we go through it. It's cost effective. We got all of that done, and it's doable. So what do we do now? We're going to put it together. And if you're a trustee, we have a law and policy task force that's made up of lawyers, ex-governors, mayors, legislatures, whoever we need to be on there. They will take that and formulate it into a law so that you can present it. And then you can present it to the authorizing body, whether it's the city council, the mayor if they're going to do it by executive order, board of ed, whomever it is. And then you can implement it. Once it's respectfully submitted and approved, then we can implement it, right? I mean, it seems like it's a lot, but it's a flow. It's truly a flow. And once you get in it and you're able to see the change on each level, it really, really motivates you to get to the end, which I call a win-win. Because anything that changes in your community is a win for you, and it's a win for the administration, too, right? So it's a win-win for everyone, for your communities to move forward towards that big word of sustainability. Because if you can take care of yourself, the government is pretty happy, aren't they? They ain't got to worry about you. So one of the best things and the most threatening things at the same time is an educated community resident, right? Because if you're educated to what your rights are and how to use your voice with purpose, right? Not just to get out there and start talking. We all know them people, right? And you just go, oh, we were so close. We were so close. And now we've been derailed, right? Because now blame is in the room. All that other kind of stuff is in the room. So what we want to do is we want to provide the resources and the tools for free, my favorite word, because if it's free, it's for me, right? So that you understand how to structure what you need to structure and how to move it forward to get change, okay? So in Patterson, after George Floyd, the Civic Trust in Patterson said, yeah, something got to go. we can't do this. This is a little crazy right here. And we all know what just happened in Patterson, right? So, COVID done messed up my whole timeline. So COVID started in what, 2020? Yeah. Okay, so George Floyd was killed in summer of 2020, right? Okay, so 21, on the anniversary of George Floyd's death, Mayor Sayer in Patterson signed a de-escalation culture ordinance for the city of Patterson. What does that mean, right? It creates a de-escalation advisory board that audits the escalation training versus force training. So nationwide, police, for every 8 hours of enforcement training, they only get 1 hour de-escalation. So what are we talking about? If they're not taught how to de-escalate, how are they going to do it? They're doing what they're trained to do, right? They're trained to do what? Shoot to kill. Trained to shoot to maim. They're trained to shoot to kill. Okay, so they're doing what they're trained to do. Now, we are not going to talk about whether that's right or wrong because we already know, right? So what we're saying is, and what the advisory board is saying, let's pull in more de-escalation training. It is available. Let's pull it in. And we're going to have this group of citizens whose makeup looks exactly like the makeup of the community, including youth, to review it and to meet, usually monthly. Some of them meet quarterly because we have this passed in more than one area, to talk about how that de-escalation training is working in the community. So Patterson right now is up against a wall. So that de-escalation committee is working double time now because they got to pull all those audit reports. How much de-escalation training have they had? How much enforcement training have they had? We need to change our structure from a warrior law and order concept to a guardian concept. Guardian would be more what? De-escalation, right? So people like you and me, we did that. We did it in Patterson. We did it in Perth Amboy. We're a smidge, almost a smidge finished in Philly. Okay? Newark already has something similar, but we're working with Mayor Baraka just to bring in the auditing report and the de-escalation training so that way they can work on that. So you can make a change, right? And my favorite line from the movie Soul Food: one finger is one finger, but you ball all of them up into a fist, and what do you have? More power. More power. So us working together creates that power, right? And for those of us that are community people, we can move that power through our planning boards, right? Our city administration, mayor's administration, our board of ed, and our Democratic Party leaders. Because those are the power centers in the community. That's where you go to get stuff done. So I could be on this soapbox till we're all 140. So I'm gonna just take it to the end. I do have here some of the booklets for each one of our trusts. I make a booklet so that people who come visit for the first time, yeah, they can enjoy the food, but they get a chance to see what we really do. Okay, so I'm going to put these. One is Newark and one is Trenton. Not quite sure which is which, but I'm going to start them on each side. And I'm also going to send around a list. If you all are interested in having a conversation about starting a civic trust in Orange, if you put your contact information here, then I will reach out. And we can set up a Zoom, we can set up in person, it doesn't matter. You can come to the Newark one if you want to see what it looks like. We meet the second Wednesday of every month at Rutgers University Spa, which is on Washington, okay? We do have a Zoom option because I know we are still kind of in COVID. So we do have a Zoom option. So if you would like to Zoom in, we could do that too, okay? So I'm going to start this here, and there's a pen for you. And if you want to sign up, sign up. I promise you I will not sell a list to nobody. You guys are not going to get a zillion emails or nothing like that, okay? But I would like to open it up to questions. If anybody has any questions.
What would a senior do in the position of needing help and peer through being red tape? I'm trying to relocate, and I've been doing it for 7 months. I'm not familiar with the criteria related to the process. So are there going to be advocates that can help a person like a senior get through that red tape quicker so it can be done more efficiently for them?
So what we usually do is create committees in order to address issues, okay? As a social worker who works with the senior population, what I can tell you is it depends on the type of housing you're looking for. So you don't have to answer that question. I'll just go through a quick thing. So if you are looking for what is known as subsidized housing, right? That subsidized housing means that you pay 30% of your income and the government pays the rest. There's probably a wait list. Okay, I want to say probably about a year, 2 years, depending on where you want to go, could be 8. At one point, the wait list in Newark was 8 years. Why is that? Because there's not enough subsidized housing for everybody who needs it, right? So the next level of housing would be affordable, right? So affordable housing means that you pay almost market value, almost market value. Most of those buildings are usually tax credit buildings. So you pay almost. So your rent's going to be somewhere probably around 75% of market value, loosely somewhere around there. And you're responsible for your own electricity, okay? Workforce housing is based on the average median income, which around here, I think is somewhere in the $46,000 a year, as opposed to East Orange, which is about $35,000 a year. Okay, so they're based on that. So it really depends on where you're going with it. Okay, but I'll give you my information and we can talk about that and a little, and more specifics to you. Okay. Anybody else have any questions? So when I quiz everybody, they're gonna know it.
See how much you remember.
Well, the sign up for the Civic Trust, I'll call it informational session, is going around, and I left pamphlets on the tables for you guys to take away. I have to say that I think this is in Orange would do well.
Question.
Mhm.
I know we're not supposed to be talking about housing, but I live in a certain street,
Mhm.
and there is a house owned by the city,
Mhm.
and the people who comes in here is all about drugs, whereas the police comes every other day
Mhm.
to stop that. Where do we go from here?
So Newark had a similar issue, and what they did was, oh sure. So what she's talking about is vacant houses on your block, right? That turn into hangouts of people that you kind of don't want on your block. That then in turn can drop your property value, right? Which hit you dead smack in the what? Pocket, right? So the Fairmount section of Newark had a very similar issue. Okay, so what they did, they created a committee, and one of our civic trustees, which now works for the city of Newark, Bill Bishop, is a tech guru. So what they did was they created a spreadsheet, and the spreadsheet acts in real time that they send to DPW, and you can watch the start from when they receive it to how long it comes for them to take out to them resolving it, right? From start to finish. And that has minimized a lot of the issues with the grass, the crawly things with the long tail, them, and hangouts, people hanging out. Yeah, people hanging out. Because what they were able to do, one, is close those houses off. You got to close those houses off. Because if you don't, anybody can go in there, and then what do you got? People with squatter rights, right? And you're like, how do these squatters have got the same rights that I do, and I pay? What is this, right? So, yeah, we could create a committee, and that committee would specifically address that. And trust me, there's a lot of evidence-based research and models out there to use, because we used one in Newark. Yeah, we also looked at the banks, because when you have a bank in your city, they have to invest some of that money back into the community. Have to. It's not a choice, right? And that wasn't happening for a long time in the areas that are redlined. Okay? So that was one of our issues we looked at too, that we worked with some of the banks to get that money to come back in. And now, as you can see, Newark they don't have an issue with redlining like they used to. The last bank, I want to say, is Lakeland. They just did a request to the state to oversee Lakeland because they're doing some development in Newark, and they were one of the main redliners to make sure that they don't do that again. So when we get together as a group, you not only have your committee members, but you have that law and policy task force behind you. Okay, so the bills that came out that said civics have to go into the middle schools and college from Troy Singleton, guess who wrote that? The task force wrote those and helped him develop those. So the reach is wide. It's very wide. And we are here for all of it, okay? So I'll be here. I'm going to stay around. You want to pull me aside, ask me a question. I will gladly give you my contact information. And let's make our communities better. Because if we don't do it, nobody's going to do it. Right? So I thank you, Councilwoman. Thank you so much for letting me talk this morning. And I'm here. So I'll roam around, and Lord knows, I'll give you back the mic.